hello, evening / afternoon. I'm trying my best in this situation with the light situation. I apologise on this one if you're watching. This is Helen for You Fit Studio on multiple platforms this evening. In the heat, I just drove back and I think I literally have just been annihilated from inside my own car by the heat. Hey Pooja, look at me. I'm trying to sort my hair out, but I am frizzed. Hey, Heather! Heather is very warm in Fiats right now. Well, not all cars, not just Fiats, but that I felt that in a Fiat. Do you love this title of this live? It's just, hey Emma, just get on with it. Sounds a bit harsh. Hi Pooja. Hey. Pooja, I haven't posted the very beautiful photo of you from yesterday. It appears that every time Pooja, Patel and I have a one-to-one, some kind of facial expression thing happens, or some kind of weird moment, like yesterday when she ran out of the car because there was a moth inside, and so I got a shot of her just leaning into the car from the outside. Brilliant. Literally the most amount of fun of one-to-one, just like, what's going on? Screaming inside the car. Well, it was me. It was the first time. No, you shouldn't share that. No, I won't post it. Pooja, I did just send it to you. It was funny. Hey, Valley. Yes, Hemma. I was pre-booked. I'm not going to lie. I was pre-booked, Hemma. I was pre-booked. That's in the diary. 31st of July, people. 31st. So we have to wait until August until I can show and tell. Oh, no, actually might have a... Don't know. Might have a reveal on the 31st. Who can tell? Right now, what you can tell is that I've been in the car and it's literally annihilated my head. So, hi Danny. The live is called, or the podcast called Just Get On With It. Now, it's partly something I've gone over before, and I'm probably going to use some different context of when I did it last time, okay? And it's about behaviours and why we're not getting on with things to some degree, as opposed to just, I'm going to go through that first and how to flip that round. Just get on with things. Sounds so simple, right? What is holding people back from getting on with things? What is stopping people just getting on with it? Every time I say it, I feel I can hear my nan just telling me to get on with it. Oh, my dad was very much like that. Just get on with it. Have a cup of tea and get on with it. Just get on with it. Now, why is it that some people's behaviours are not allowing them to move forward or get on with things? You may ask, and I'm asking that question. Hey, Isabel. And what I want to go through today is the processes that lead to behaviours. Hi, Danny. Processes that lead to behaviours, or what the thought process is, shall we say. And what is leading some behaviours to take place and some not to take place. I can hear Sam. Go on with it. Maybe I've just been working with Sam for too long, Heather. Every time I stop for a moment, I just hear her voice. Go on with it. The thing is, I know he says when he says it because I can translate it. And everyone else is like, what did he say? I'm saying, just get on with it. Okay. But let's dig it down though, because it's not an incorrect, it's not an incorrect process if you get into it, actually. He's not far wrong from the truth. Unfortunately, let's not tell him because he's not watching this. So let's just pretend that he's not right, because that's way more fun than telling him when he is right. No? Simply, secret, no one tell him. There's a few people watching this, no one needs to tell him, including someone who lives with him. We're fine, Danny, just don't tell him he's right. Ever. However, there is a process that leads to behaviours or lack of behaviours in a particular sense, okay? Now, what I've talked about before with clients, and I have done, there's different ways of thinking about it, either from a spiritual sense or from a scientific sense. However, in the sense of human behaviour, it still comes out with the same shenanigans. And it was actually interestingly, although I haven't got the book with me to show you, I did show it last week, the book that's called Just Get On With It. And don't ask me the author, because I apologise that I don't know right now who that is, right? Well, it's a good book though. Oh, look, Isabel's in there quick. Depends on your leverage and what motivates you. Yeah, I'm going something different on this, Isabel. So if you're thinking about a behaviour or lack of behaviour, take it in 3 stages if you like, because that's how I'm going to do it. So what it starts with, and it always starts with whether you recognise it or not. I've done this exercise. Oh, how many times have clients now? I don't want to put a number on it. We'll just say quite a few times have done this exercise with varying results and varying success based on where they are in terms of openness and trust, and how willing they are to do the work. The favourite saying in a minute, I feel like I'm just very direct: do the work, get on with it. I really have been around Sam too long. However, if someone's willing to do the work and willing to really get into stuff that makes them feel uncomfortable, we'll get into the thoughts, because that's where everything starts in terms of behaviours, even though most of the time you only recognise the behaviour at the end of the chain, if that makes sense. So I might recognise that I'm eating biscuits, but I have no idea how I've got there. And that is a common thing that I used as an example just earlier on a call. It's a common thing where clients say, I have no idea how it happens. I just landed head first into this bag of Butterkiss and ate myself from the inside out. It was an entire accident. I have no idea. I have no memory other than when I had to wipe off the popcorn from my face and hair, and I found some in my underwear a day later and ate that as well, right? I'm describing that like it's happened. Just gonna check. There we go. So what happens? Someone will either recognise the behaviour at the end of the chain, they won't recognise the thought, and yet the thought is where it starts. So the thought is usually something that is, Belly's laughing, Belly's like, done it too. The thought is usually, and this is where people aren't really recognising it, can be very, I want to say unconscious, subconscious, I don't know what you'd use, Isabel probably knows. The thought can be almost, I like to say it's almost like a lightning bolt. It can be so fast and so quick that somebody doesn't even know it exists, that it's there, because they're so either accustomed to it being there or hear it so often on a daily basis that it becomes part of the background almost of their thoughts. It's just there. And just for a moment it gets a bit louder for a second, and then before they know it, something's happened, right? Now, examples of thoughts. And this is where it comes down to someone's awareness and if they're willing to do the work. The thoughts are never, let's just say it's never Mary Poppins whispering something quite pleasant about kittens and rainbows and things like that. Or whiskers on kittens. Is that Mary Poppins? Probably something else, isn't it? That's not the same thing, is it? You get the gist. It's generally not something pleasant or supportive or productive. It's usually quite negative. It usually says something like, you're not good enough. You are going to fail, you're going to put weight on, you're going to get weight, like it could be anything, right? It could be, it's usually a criticism, a self-criticism, or internal monologue of you're not good enough, you're a fraud. I've had that one, you're a fraud. That one's come up before. Or I'm a fraud, you're telling yourself. I'm not good enough. To me, it's not incredibly pleasant, and can be, what I need to be perfect. It's whatever it is, it's a thought, right? Now, the bit in the middle, right, the bit in the middle that some people recognise and some people don't, right, is the emotion. So emotion attaches to that thought, right? We do it all day probably without thinking about it. If you think about it, I'm talking about this from a food or even alcohol point of view. However, we do it with everything we do during the day, like literally from start to end. Which is where it's fascinating. So we have an emotion right to that thought. Now, again, because I'm doing work on people with comfort eating or with behaviours that are stopping them move forward on their journey, right? Generally, these are examples I'm using, right? So the emotion might be anxiety or fear or judgment. Judgment is one. I feel judged. I feel, anxious. I feel bad, right? Whatever that is. Isabel's reflecting on this, that I learned this, right? But this is something we do all day about recognising it, right? And I'm just calling to attention a chain of events, because once we attach that emotion to the thought, it becomes our behaviour, right? So that emotion becomes our behaviour. Now, it ties in with what I've been talking about. It holds people back so much from getting on with things. Still here, my nan. And yet it does, it's true. It stops people moving forward because the emotion and behaviours are so closely tied that the thought gets drowned out. That's the interesting thing. The thought is what triggers it all, and yet the emotion and the behaviour is what takes over. And this is what's interesting as well, right? Because I'm ready to the solution phase, because I don't want to dwell too much on either section, because I think it'd be really great, and I've done this with clients before, to take this way of exercise yourself, because you can probably think of times of which you've done this yourself now. You've had a thought like, oh, we can all use this during lockdown. I've put weight on. How does that make someone feel? It makes them feel anxious. It makes them feel scared. It makes them feel like they're going to be judged by the coach, right? Now, what's the behaviour, right? This is interesting, because the behaviour in this could be one way or another. If someone feels that they've put weight on, interestingly, they may not choose to then go and exercise. They may not choose to make choices around the food, because they're like, you've put weight on. God, the emotion can seem so strong that actually what they will do is go and eat, because food makes them feel better, right? So you can see how, I mean, again, I'm using food, but let's use, you could do it for work. You say, if I ever thought like, God, I'm not good enough for this job, and then someone sends an email that has something in there that's, well, not that critical, but it's kind of saying, actually, I need to give you some feedback, and you're thinking already, I'm terrible at this job. I am terrible at this job. Emotion, someone's proving it to me. What's the behaviour? Will you either start like bashing out with your fists on the keyboard? Again, never done that. So I'm on the 5th keyboard, it's fine. Right? But that's the behaviour can be multiple things, right? We've all done that in, I'm sure, still checking, no, we're fine still. Done that in some kind of situation where actually it's the thought that's, it's not someone sending the email that's the issue, it's the thought of, I'm not good in my job, that creates the emotion, that creates the behaviour, the turnaround on this. Crash, coming over my cat. So Isabel's asking, is it a behaviour or is it a habit? Ooh, I think it's one and the same, Isabel, because it becomes a choice. I think if you become aware of it, it becomes a habit. So the thing is that at some point it has to, when someone says, oh, you're going to break a habit, at some point you have to start addressing it. So it's not addressing almost the behaviour or the habit, it's the thought that sparks it. Because sometimes I work up the chain, right? So I work from the behaviour backwards, because it's too much to work from the top down. I'll say, right, okay, so what are you doing? Oh, I'm eating, I'm snacking later tonight. Yeah. But I have to work upwards, and sometimes that's what some people have to do to understand the habit, right? Where does the habit come from? What emotion do I have attached to that habit? Okay, I'm working up the chain, and then it's going up again and going, okay, so what is the thought that's above that emotion? And then you're getting into it, right? So then you're getting into it. So if I'm like thinking that that's the thought, that's the seed, that's the root, that's the cause of my behaviours, it isn't the biscuits that's making me the way I am, it's the thought that's leading to it, right? And there's where it becomes interesting in the steps of having to lead up to it. So Coach Heather's saying, it does hold people back. Repeated behaviours become the norm as do the thoughts, yes. And then it becomes much harder to see the alternative options. Yes, it does. Now, oh, I like this stuff. I might have to turn the page even though I've got no notes on the inside. Bing! Remember those books? Turn the page. Show you my age again. So if you have a thought, right, so let's get into thought. So once you do the work, right, do the work, get on with it, do the work. Once you get to the thought, it is generally, as I said before, the most supportive statement. And it is a statement as well, because like Heather's commented, the thought becomes the norm. It becomes regular, it becomes accepted, it becomes like a backtrack, like the lift music to your day until somebody goes, oh, lift going up. And there it is, right? It becomes to the forefront. So the trick is understanding the thought Now, what do you do once you have it? There's different things I've done with clients, actually, and I've done it historically, and it ties in more with the text I was talking about. It kind of all sits in place with me now a lot more, because it all does kind of intertwine a lot. So if you haven't caught my live about, can't even know what it was about now. Oh, Lord help me. Helen might help me out because I did it last week and I don't know what I did yesterday or the day of the week. So it's about getting the statement from yourself, or when I do this with a client, I get the statement, and then let's use an example of, I used it on a previous live with a client who was concerned that they would ruin a major event in someone's life. Essentially, they'd ruin their life if they didn't get this event right. So the question I asked the client, because she said, I am terrible at my job, I'm a fraud, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't have qualification in it, the thought is I'm going to ruin it. I was like, okay, so you're going to ruin it, right? How many events have you ruined in your life? She was like, none. I was like, okay. So what's the likelihood that you're going to ruin an event in the future based on previous experience? So then it leads back onto that previous live. I said, right, so how true is that statement? How true is the statement that you're going to ruin someone's event, someone's life event? So it's not. I was like, okay. So here we have something to work on in terms of affirmations, or reversing back a statement like we did. So as a coaching team, we did this the weekend, and Heather and I both did it as well, right? Both quite powerful statements that we made that come down to a belief, right? So that's when look, said it. So Heather's like, is it challenging your beliefs? It depends what you call that thought, Heather. Yeah, if you start to believe your own thoughts, then yes. If you believe that you are a failure because your thoughts tell you are, then guess what? Yeah, it becomes a belief because you believe that you're going to fail at something. You believe that you're not good enough. You believe that you're not going to succeed. There's no facts behind it. There's no truth behind it. But it becomes reality when you start to think it every day. It's getting deep, isn't it? So it is about, so does a habit always have an emotional attached? I'm not convinced, but a behaviour feels like it does have an emotional attached. The thing is, though, is that not all habits are unconstructive based on emotions attached to them. Take, for example, the habit of meditating. Or could I counter myself? Go back about this all day. It's just one or two things, isn't it? You could say, depending on the individual, their emotion around the habit of meditating might be, actually, I know this makes me feel constructive and peaceful and in touch with the world and able to process my thoughts and understand they're not me. Or it might be, I need to meditate because that's how I'm zen. Because I need to be good at this stuff, because I need to be perfect. I need to do it every day because that means I'm right. Can you imagine that internal monologue is very different, right? So I don't know if it does. Like I don't have an emotion about brushing my teeth, or do I? I actually have a fear of the dentist bill, so that's a particular emotion. It drives me to clean my teeth. Expensive business, isn't it? So I don't know. Actually, that's a good question though, Isabel. The answer is I don't know. If I think about it, wrestling a cat. Came in for the kill then. He came in for a side sweep. Didn't see him coming. That was a fast one. Got him faster. Love it. Wouldn't be alive on a Tuesday without me wrestling a cat. He's not giving in. I can see him. It's like a face hugger down there. It's like, I've got you. So there's the reversal process. So that's one way of doing it. So the reversal process is that, well, actually that's a lie. Let's do this in different sections. So it's the truth. So how true is it, this thought? How true is it that what I'm telling myself is real? Like, what's the fact behind it that I have? And consciously asking yourself that question, right? Which is going to be tough. If it's quite a personal thought process, if it's quite a deep-rooted one, to ask yourself that, is this true? How true is this? What facts do I have that tells myself this is true? That's one way of doing it. Another way that Helen and I did it was to reverse it. So rather than saying let's say I'm a failure, I am not a failure. I can't do this, I am doing this. And then link in, expand on it. And this is the way you'd use affirmations, right? This is what's interesting. If you really want to understand yourself and get into your affirmations, It's like, tell you what I do with me, and it was an interesting one. And I'm always, I'm a tangle of chords in life, and I'm always like that person who's yanking at stuff like it's going to come unravelled by just pure brute force and just ripping it around the place and hoping it all comes out. And I've always been told I'm not a patient person, so my behaviours are always when I get to a situation that requires patience. Previously, just like a Neanderthal, I'm just like going into no patience mode. I'm like this. Yeah, for 2 years I told myself in affirmations I'm a patient person. I am patient, interestingly. And then suddenly everyone's going, God, you're a patient person. I'm like, yes I am. I mean, I'm still yanking on those chords. Ask Heather. But I do it and they consciously think, you are a patient person, Helen. This will come apart, rather than this, right? So it is challenging part of my own beliefs, right? Because I could have spent the rest of my life wrestling with chords or accept it needs to change. So affirmations are a good way once you reverse that thought process or that thought or belief, you want to call it, and then change it into an affirmation, right? Because on the basis of the work that we did at the weekend or the work that Sam did in his live last Sunday, you could create affirmations out of that work. And that's something probably for Heather and I to consider, that you then create an affirmation that challenges your own thought. This isn't true. And guess what? I'm going to remind myself on a daily basis. So rather than make that thought, as Heather said, becomes the norm, that negative thought that's a norm, you create a new one and you actively make that your norm. That's a counter of it. That's the real truth, which is, I'm not a failure. I am a fantastic person. I am a patient person. I have value, right? Good. I have value for another 2 years. I bring value to those around me. Yep, still look at it every morning. I bring value to those around me. Not changing them, not doing anything with them, just keeping them the same, right? What does that say? That says at some point I had a thought process that created an emotion, that created our behaviours that was of someone who didn't sense they had value, right? So it works. I've done it for a long time now. I had a third one and I've already forgotten about it because I got into it. Damn. So it's reversing, affirmations. Oh, yeah, the third one. And this is one that probably, Isabel, you've thought about before, or have been thinking about, and Bally probably as well. And it's kind of more, it's in a spiritual sense, it's a bit of everything. It's probably becoming an observer of your thoughts. I think I've seen Eckhart Tolle everywhere at the minute because he's doing an online course. And Isabel, you haven't seen it, it's just everywhere. It's on, I think it's on YouTube for every advert at the minute. Is Eckhart Tolle online course. I've looked at the price, I looked away. However, he talks a lot about becoming observers of your own thoughts. So to become an observationalist is almost to become more conscious. You can choose for it to go down a track or not. So if I talk about, let's go back to it. So the thought, the emotion, and then the behaviour. If I am becoming conscious of my thoughts, so I'm an observer. I'm not the thought, I'm not a thought. Like if you say to yourself, I have no value, well, you're not a thought. It is a thought you're having, but you don't have to become it. But you become an observer of it, you can then make a conscious choice to stop it, to stop the emotion or become aware of it. And almost like I say, it's like cutting the head of the flower off a little bit. It sounds quite nasty, but however that, you don't want the emotion to flourish. You don't want the emotion to take hold and then dictate the behaviour. You want to cut it out and say, actually, no, hang on a minute. That's not true. I'm having a thought, I'm observing it. What's my third person? And we go, yeah, nah, not buying what you're selling, thanks. Pack that in. Not true, right? So as Heather's saying, after doing the exercise on the weekend, I had a very long-standing belief was questioned. I was left questioning my own belief system. It was powerful, yeah. I would say that's probably a very true observation of that exercise, actually, Heather. But the thing is about, and this is what's interesting, right? This is what I said towards the beginning, right? You have to be in that position to look at yourself and be ready to do that. Now, whether or not it's done by a coach or you choose to do it yourself, it's a really powerful exercise. It is very powerful. As Heather's saying, it's powerful. Heather was prepared to do the work. We're all prepared to do the work with each other, which is was an experience, let's just say. And that's the thing. It's great to do the work. It's even harder to do the follow-up work. Because that, in essence, if I'm honest, I think that's probably where the real work starts. Sorry, Heather. You just opened that one up. However, it's true, because remember, the language that Heather is using, Coach Heather is using, is brilliant. So it's a very long-standing belief, right? So remember this, right? If you're going to do this exercise or give it some thought, these haven't been created, these thoughts, overnight. They've been there for maybe for most people for as long as they can remember. That seed was planted, in some cases childhood, most of the time if I'm absolutely honest, probably most at that age range, like from maybe like 10 to 19, somewhere in that bracket. That's a random window. I haven't taken a survey just to confirm, just from general sense. That's the age where most people are quite impressionable, but also when they start to create their own awareness of themselves and how they think of themselves and their emotional interaction with of how they see themselves and others starts and begins. As Heather said, is a very long-standing belief was questioned, right? And what's interesting about that is that it wasn't us questioning it from an external point of view. Heather was questioning herself. So she was asking herself if it's true. And this is the whole thing of going through this exercise, the way I've placed it to everybody, is that it's asking yourself. Like I've done it with clients. Yes, I can ask them, is it true? But actually, it was Heather having to say to herself, do I really believe that? Do I really believe it? I'm going to go into it and actually put myself into that thought and that feeling and that emotion and imagine what, and put myself in that moment, understand it, and then decide whether or not I want to keep it or not. Yeah, it's powerful. Like Heather's whole belief system got like... And what was interesting, and Heather, like Rakesh talked about a little bit, and it'd be interesting like to see what you think, because I have to be honest, I rehearsed mine. I made myself rehearse mine from a verbal point of view with another client prior to that meeting, because writing it was powerful. Writing your belief that you know is causing emotion and therefore holding you back because it's creating behaviours you're not comfortable with. Writing it is one exercise, right? To then read it to another human being is a totally different interaction with it, because in some senses it's making the unreal real, I think, is a description way I can describe it. It's actually saying this, I'm putting this out into the world. It's not just a mind fart that I've had. Heather will know what I mean when I say that, because we both do it all the time. It's not something that just came out. This has no substance. Actually, now I read it out loud to other people that are listening and hearing what I'm saying, that now this is real. This is actually something I'm saying out loud, what I've wanted to work on my head for a long time. I just didn't know what it was. And that's what becomes powerful about the actual exercise, or the exercise of doing this, or understanding what's behind it, because it does hold people back. It stops people from moving forward in such fundamental ways that, if I'm honest with you, from a coaching perspective, I would say of all the things I've ever worked with on clients, understanding that is without a doubt the most powerful exercise you can do as a coach with a client, because it unlocks the door of someone's true potential once they realise that what's holding them back is just nonsense. It's not true. It's their own thoughts. What's holding someone back, the reason why they can't move forward, they can't get on with it, they can tell themselves they can't, it's because they haven't recognised that they can. Whatever it is isn't true. So Heather's saying, when I wrote it, I reacted a little, yeah, down with you on that. When I wrote it, going, ooh, I know what you felt. I was like this, ick. Oh, that came from out of nowhere. That does not feel pleasant. It was like, I think it's an analogy, finding some poo on a stick and going, ooh, where did you come from? It's a bit like that in my head. Heather might understand, other people will be like, oh, crazy. But it's a bit like that. You have a bit of repulsion. I had a bit of repulsion. I was like, I wrote it and went, ew. Ugh. No, Heather didn't rehearse. Yeah, I was, I'm going to be honest, I was so scared of reading it that I would be judged by everybody else there. I almost free played it off on a client, like, hear this. because she was doing the exercise as well. I didn't just randomly do that to her, by the way. We both did the exercise and then read it to each other. So I had like a rehearsal so that I could have that react, or at least have a moment where I could get it out and get it out first and see how I felt. I reacted, and Heather saying I reacted a lot when I said it and after. Yeah. I'm looking forward to catch up with the other. It should be interesting. It exposed your vulnerability, yes. It's a bit like, you know when someone does the work, and I talked about leverage, it does link in, because you know when you've really done the work, really turned around that sentence and really then put out into the world what you want to become, or the person you want to become, it becomes your leverage. That's what's interesting about that. But it exposes the most vulnerable part of yourself that thinks that something is unachievable because you've told yourself that for so long. And then it becomes your leverage. If you work on it, it becomes your leverage. But the vulnerability is what makes it so personal, makes it so real. And the fear of vulnerability and the fear of judgment that comes with it, because what is to be vulnerable is to fear being judged. That somehow somebody doesn't believe what you say. What's the worst case? Not really. But yes, it does expose your vulnerability. It's all right. We got through it. We're all in one piece, right? I mean, it's the good news. I was thinking about being on Facebook a lot, isn't it, Heather? That we're alive. We survived. We came through stronger. I've got another live about that as well, about resilience and conversations. Ooh, some good ones coming up. So I'm going to recap before I get attacked from the floor by the face-hugging cat. He's assuming, the cat owners will know this, when a cat assumes a belly rub position, you know it ain't real. I know what's going through my head right now, and the thought is, no chance, my son, I'm not putting my hand down there. My behaviour, my choice is not to do that. Yeah, no. So, and scientists just get on with it. But do you know what? Part of doing this exercise is learning how to get on with it. If I was to rephrase it, is learning how to get on with it and how to do the work. So, away from the process that leads to behaviour. So most people acknowledge the behaviour without acknowledging the process. So the thought that starts the chain reaction, that goes into the emotion, that then dictates the behaviour, the chain reaction. So I went through what the thought can be, where it comes from, like from young age, what the emotion does, how powerful it is, what that emotion then leads to, which is a behaviour. What is that behaviour? It can be food or alcohol, or just generally, just general behaviours, right? They're not progressive to who you want to be. They're keeping you held back from the person you want to become. And how do you deal with it? You root out that thought, that negative thought, that self-doubt, whatever it is, and actually start to work with that sentence, that thought, right? The biggest challenge is working out the thought, right? And then I went through, it's either reversing it, right? So reversing it and actually creating then affirmations, right, that tell you what it is, or becoming aware of it like a third person and saying, actually, nah, you ain't true. You're not the reality. We're really questioning the truth of your thought as well, is another way of doing it. All very valid and all work and all entirely successful. And I'm gonna finish with this point again. It is one of the most powerful exercises you can do with yourself or your coach. Of all the clients I've done this with, all of them, sometime afterwards, not immediately afterwards, but sometime afterwards, will make progress forward when they may not have done for some time because they weren't ready to move forward or get on with things. They were stuck with their thought. And once I do the exercise, they'll usually come back to it in a few months' time and say, do you remember that conversation? Like, yeah. So right, I was ready to deal with it, and now I've got on with it. Right, so it's good stuff. It's all good stuff. So enjoy your evening. Let's give him a side rub. Side rub's all right. You get carried away. And tomorrow's Wednesday. Yay! And I will see you tomorrow night. Bye.